Welcome to Compounding Change, the podcast where small actions lead to big results. I'm Shannon Davis, a financial advisor who works closely with firefighters, police officers, and others to plan strong retirements and build financial security. But this podcast goes beyond finances. Twice a month, I sit down with incredible individuals who are making a difference, one step at a time. Whether they're running a business, contributing to health and healing, or raising funds for impactful causes, these stories remind us that meaningful change doesn't happen overnight. It's the little things, those small, consistent actions that create better health, wealth, and lives. My goal is to bring you topics and conversations that benefit every aspect of your life. Whether you're looking for inspiration, practical advice, or a fresh perspective, you'll find it here, because compounding isn't just about finances, it's for life.
This is the Compounding Change Podcast, sharing stories of small but meaningful changes that compound into amazing impact. Brought to you by Shannon Davis and DavisCompoundingChange.com. Change happens fast. Take advantage. Discussions on this show should not be construed as specific recommendations or investment advice. Always consult with your investment professional before making important investment decisions. Securities offered through Cambridge Investment Research Incorporated, a registered broker-dealer member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisory services are offered through Retirement Plan Advisors LLC, a federally registered investment advisor. Cambridge Investment Research and Retirement Planning Advisors are not related to DavisCompoundingChange.com or this podcast. Now, here's your host, Shannon Davis.
Let's start by building something better. Little by little together, welcome to Compounding Change. If you enjoy the show, please like, share, and subscribe. It helps us reach more people and spread the word about the power of small changes. Everyone has a story, and I'd love to hear yours. Please let me know if there's a topic or something you'd like to share. Contact me, and let's keep the conversation going. Today, I'm so excited to have my longtime friend, Julie Smolen, to Compounding Change. Her journey embodies the essence of our podcast, small, intentional actions leading to profound transformations. Julie, we were just trying to reminisce about how long I've known you, and it's been, so now it's this year will be like 15 years, right?
Wow, time flies.
Yes. So one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you is because it's not like we get an opportunity to talk on a daily basis or even on an annual basis since I moved away from Colorado and I'm now in Ohio. But I see you on social media, which, number one, you've inspired me because I cringe at social media, and you've done such a great job, and I enjoy hearing about your story. And sometimes I haven't reached out because I'm like, oh, maybe she doesn't want to share all that, but you've been great about sharing your story. And I'm hoping that you'll share more with us about today, about what led you to where you are now.
Yes.
From our days in CrossFit and crushing our bodies.
You were a pillar of that change. I mean, you were a key role in that, of one of the changes that led to where I am today.
Oh, well, thank you.
Thank you for that. So,
well, look, you led to my podcast, right?
I know. Whoever knew we would end up here.
Right.
But yeah, I think people telling their stories helps other people. And that is why I try to do it on social media, is I just, learned so many things from my journey over the years of all the things that I've been through health-wise and just being a mom. And so I just try to share our story and try to be pretty candid about it, because when you're real, people trust you and they learn from you, and you could change someone else's life.
Well, and I'm not asking you to pull up pictures, but one of the things when I first met you that was so amazing was your transformation and now I think it's just evolved immensely, but your transformation from when you showed me a picture of you and Joe early on to when I met you in 2010. But now it seems like you've not only done the external health, you've also done a lot to improve your internal.
For sure. And I think for the longest time, I always thought, oh, I got to get skinny, because I did have kind of a weight problem. My whole life, I battled it. Weight loss, it was hard for me. I I even ran a marathon, and I did not look like a person that could run a marathon. And that was back in my 20s. But then, and I fell in love with fitness. My dad was a huge role model of exercise. And so I'm very thankful for that. So I think I always thought it was diet and exercise for the longest time. And it wasn't really until I dove in deeper that there's more to it than just food and exercise. It's a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Toxin removal, focusing on sleep, stress.
So you said when I talked to you the other day, you said that you created a timeline, and and that triggered it to me. I thought, people always that you do want to know why somebody or how somebody got to where they are. I mean, when I met you, I wasn't a financial advisor. So it is incredible, the journey, and it's not as random as somebody might think when you say, oh, I used to own a gym, now I'm a financial advisor, right? There's a lot that goes into that, but can you kind of go back over what you've come to when you looked over your timeline?
Sure. Well, we moved out to Colorado in 2004. I had 2 kids under the age of 2.5. And then right when we moved here, I got pregnant with our third. And then when he was 21 months old, I got pregnant, or no, maybe he was 17 months old. I got pregnant with our fourth. So in between pregnancies, I would try to run and drop the weight before getting pregnant again. But it wasn't until after her, I hit the gym, and that's when I was introduced to CrossFit. And I would say it was life-changing because I didn't think I was ever a big-time athlete, and I just kept improving in areas of strength and fitness where I was like, oh my gosh, I can actually do this. I can compete against other women that are 10 years younger than me, and guys. It was like beating men in workout.
Yeah. Right.
You know that feeling.
With your crazy eyes.
With your crazy eyes.
Yeah. I should have pulled up pictures of those things.
I always hated getting photographed in competitions because, I'd look at other women and they would look all ripped up. Yeah. And here I am, like, looking all crazy. But I think they used to call me the Incredible Hulk.
It's okay. I was called other things. So that's okay. I won't even, never mind. Go on.
Yeah. So after I had Maddie, she was born in 2007. So about 2008, because she was born in November. Back when she was 6 weeks old. And that's when I was introduced to CrossFit. And so I started doing it. And then in 2010 came over to the gym where I met you, and we did the competitions. And just, kind of dove into different lifestyles of eating, ways of eating, like paleo, Whole30. And so the food part started getting involved. I really wasn't watching my food much, but food is definitely medicine. Or it can also be like what causes illness. And then I ended up having episodes of tachycardia when I would CrossFit. So
I remember that.
The rate would get over 200 when I was just sitting down after a workout. And so I had a heart ablation done in 2010. And then in 2011, I had the mommy makeover because I'd had 4 kids. I'd nursed 4 babies, and I did all this exercising, and I wanted to look and feel good. And I had all this extra skin around my abdomen. And so I did that. And then 2013 was training for regionals, I think, and broke my arm.
Oh, right.
So with CrossFit.
Doing a clean, right?
Yeah, doing a power clean or a squat clean.
Yep.
165-pound bar fell wrong on my arm. So then that put me out that year of competing. But I got right back into it. With CrossFit came some injury. And in hindsight now, like looking back at what I know now, I wish I would have known then about inflammation. all sorts of things. My hormones were all out of whack from my children, just, and probably some of the products that I was using that I didn't know about that now I don't use anymore, just the toxins in our home, etc. I could go on and on about that.
Right. That's another show.
Into training, and then like 2014 went on to compete as an individual at the regional games. I was, I think, 38 years old. So did that, and then my shoulder was killing me, and I came home and got an MRI done, and on my neck, because my neck was hurting too, got an MRI done, and sure enough, I had torn my rotator cuff. So I had surgery for that in 2015. So here's another surgery. At the same time, I was having horrible cycles, and I went in to try to get an ablation done. And when they were doing the ultrasound for that, she couldn't find one of my ovaries, and it was encapsulated with a lot of blood. That's why she couldn't. And so I was diagnosed with endometriosis. And so
I know about
went
that.
into the ablation, and I had the ovary removed. And me being the questioner I am, and always being like,
which is great. Right.
That's kind of when I started diving into, why do I have endometriosis? What caused it? And so I had started following Dr. Axe on Instagram. I think I was getting his weekly emails and stuff, and learned about inflammation and how certain like chemicals and stuff in our, like, even our laundry detergents can mimic the hormones in our body and create like, they're like endocrine disruptors. So basically they mimic and replace our natural hormones. So my body was leeching onto that and holding on to that and making it worse. And then of course, like I eliminated dairy out of my diet because there's hormones in dairy and etc. But that's kind of when I started like diving deep in. Still continued to CrossFit, got back into it after my surgeries, and went on in 2017 and competed in the Masters division here in Colorado at a different gym. I think I had moved on from Mile High at that point. I know.
Right. Yeah. Gotcha.
And it was great. I mean, I made the top 200 in the world, and it felt so empowering and good, and I felt strong, and I'd come back from rotator cuff surgery, and then I started having some pain in my hip again, and so I went back to the doctor thinking I had torn my like labrum or something, and he did an MRI, and he said, I vividly remember sitting in his office, he goes, my wife is an OBGYN, and he goes, I think you need to go see yours because you have a mass on your ovary. And I was like,
oh, wow.
What? So that was scary. So I went back into my doctor, and sure enough, I had endometriosis on that ovary, even after like trying to avoid some of the stuff with diet.
Right.
I had,
at this point, were you involved with, had you learned about the oils and everything yet?
Not yet. So so she put me on a round of a really nasty hormone shot called Lupron, and it shut down my cycle. Because I, even after the ablation, was still cycling. It didn't really work for me, but it shut it down because I was only 40 at the time of my first ovary removal. And then at 42 is when she had me shut down my cycle to see how I would do. And then I still had the pain. And I went into her and I was like, can you just take it out? And I was 43 at the time. And she goes, well, it's going to put you into menopause. You know this. And at the time I was like, I don't care.
Like, right.
I'm sick.
Make it stop. Make it stop.
I couldn't even take my dogs for a 1 mile walk because my bladder felt like it was always like that growth was pushing on my bladder. So I felt like I was constantly having to go to the bathroom. Sorry, TMI. But yeah, so I
didn't realize we had all this stuff in common.
I know. So in 2018, I had the full hysterectomy, And after that, I didn't really get back into CrossFit. I was doing it a little bit in my home gym and
Yeah, I remember seeing some
yeah,
videos
just following
of
street
that.
parking and, just doing it to be fit. I had to
Right.
let go of that competitive drive mindset.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
So when did you jump into really focusing on your health? Because I know it's
when I
even
was laying
transformed. You what?
I was laying in bed recovering from my hysterectomy, and I was
Okay.
scrolling on Instagram and found a good friend of mine from college was sharing about the oils, and I was like, she was just talking about all kinds of stuff that related to me, and I was like, what? Our laundry detergent has stuff in it that's not good for us, that is making
Right.
me sick. And during this time, a few years earlier, my daughter was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes,
Oh, right.
which is also part of your endocrine system.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I just kept researching for the 6 weeks that I was recovering from my hysterectomy. And I was like, I bought my oils and started using
Mm-hmm.
them. And I just was diffusing them like I am right now in my office, but
Yep.
got rid of candles, cleaned out my laundry room. I mean, Joe came home one day from work and all of our kitchen cleaners under our sink were on top of our counter. And he's like, what are you doing? I go,
Yeah.
I'm getting rid of all these things that are making us sick and we're going to die,
Yep.
like,
Yep. Yep.
and I replaced them with, natural plant-based cleaners that wouldn't harm our family because I have 4 kids and we're the gatekeepers of our homes. And
Yep.
I have 2 daughters and I want them to have children, and, it can cause
Mm-hmm.
fertility problems and just wreak havoc on our endocrine system and our hormones. And I just never realized that when I was, you know, doing all the hard work
Right.
of getting in shape, I was still making myself sick. I
Right.
had all
As a lot of people do. I mean, just even with some of the supplements that people
take,
put in their bodies, and you think that you're doing something that's healthier. Even the firefighters that I understood this, but until I go to the meetings, but their uniforms are toxic, or the gear that they've worn is toxic, and there's a lot of working on changing all of that, but mortifying. And to hear some of the stories, and then you were saying about having this and with your daughter with the diabetes, and you look back and you're like, did I cause that? Did I do
right?
something? And then the firefighters are saying, I put that gear on my kid, and
Wow.
just so that they could see it. And it just horrifies you, even though that one act probably didn't cause harm. It's just as,
It's just a
you wouldn't.
compilation over the
Right.
years, and I had the
Exactly.
I had the plugins all over my house because I wanted my house to smell good. We had 2
Right.
boxers that farted all the time, and
Right.
4 kids in sports. It was like,
Right. Right. All the sports gear can really,
and I
well,
had
the
no
boys,
And as soon as I got rid of the stuff, like headaches were gone, stuffy noses were gone, breathing issues were gone, just
yeah.
all kinds of things have changed. I
Wow.
mean, so I started that in 2018,
Okay.
and then I've just been working on it little by little
Yeah.
and had no idea it would lead me where I am today, because now I just completed my Integrative Health Practitioner certification back in November, and
Nice.
um, I just keep diving deeper and deeper in.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of, I was joking about earlier about, can I have the cookie, right? Well, it's like that book. If you give a moose a muffin
Oh
or
yeah,
you give a mouse a cookie, right? It leads to this, it leads to that. Yeah.
and
Not everybody might know those, but I always reference that because it's like
yeah,
one thing leads to the other, it leads to the other. And that's how I feel that my career has been, but also obviously yours. I mean, starting with the oils, and it's Young Living, right?
it is Young Living
So
essential oils, and they've been around
yeah.
for over 30 years. And
So starting with that, did you think it was going to lead to
I
right?
mean, it just, some people just get the oils and they use them and they diffuse them because they want their house to smell good, but they don't
Mm-hmm.
realize that you can use them for so many other things.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter's sick right now, and I am using them to help her, like, just get her immune system back over the wellness line, because
Mm-hmm.
the oils get into our cells and they help boost our cells, and help us to just heal.
We need to get these oils in the fire stations.
I know. Everyone needs to have them.
Right,
They also
right.
have supplements, and the supplements are really good supplements. I love where they source all of their products from too, because they source it from farms around the country, and they'll show you where their farms are from, and so I know where I'm getting my product from versus buying it at Target or Amazon or whatnot.
Right. What would you say? I mean, I don't know what you started with, and I know you said, and it doesn't have to be about oils, but would you say you attributed, I guess you kind of referenced getting rid of the cleaning supplies, but if somebody were trying to get healthier, but maybe hasn't drank the Kool-Aid yet completely, what would you encourage them to do to start for their health?
Probably by replacing all their cleaners with just the one cleaner that we use in our house for everything, which is their Thieves. It's a plant-based all-purpose cleaner. And it doesn't have any endocrine disruptors in it.
Do you use that for your laundry detergent too? When you say
I go back and forth because the health industry, more people are catching on, and it's evolved over the years. So sometimes I use Thieves laundry detergent, and sometimes I switch it out and I'll use other products if I want my clothes to smell a certain way or differently.
Right. Yeah.
But it's like that strong smell you don't want. Like when I go out and I smell someone's clothes on, and you can smell it, then that's what's not good. And I don't think people understand that. I mean, you smell good, but you don't want to be outside and when you walk by somebody, I mean, even walking down the detergent aisle at the store, I avoid it.
Yeah. Or even just, we just got on an elevator this weekend. Now that was probably more of a cologne thing.
Yes. They pump the perfumes into.
Yeah. Oh, I think it was somebody who was on there before. So I think their scent lingered because it wasn't the whole time. I wasn't at that nice of a hotel that they would bother pumping stuff into the elevator. But
yeah, I think definitely just if they want to start on a health journey, just replacing that. And then, so getting toxins out of the home would be my number one. My number two is food is medicine.
I agree.
Eating whole foods, staying away from processed foods as much as you can. I know in CrossFit, there were many years where I was just counting macros, and it didn't matter where those macros came from.
Right.
As I was counting the macros.
Yeah.
And it does matter. The macros that you're eating do matter.
Right.
Because there's a lot of ingredients in food that is not good for our health.
Right.
And so fast forward, I mean, I know we got up to 2018, but then 2019 hit and the world stopped.
Right.
And I was having to manage my lovely menopausal life now with hormone replacement therapy, which is a whole other episode that we could talk about later.
Right. Yeah. Go down that rabbit hole, right?
But I was on some pellets, and she had given me some testosterone and some estrogen, but they didn't give me progesterone. Well, my levels skyrocketed, and it put me in this horrible anxiety-ridden tizzy. And I kept thinking, why am I feeling this way? Why am I having panic attacks and anxiety? And people don't know that sometimes mental health stuff like that can be caused by chemicals in their food, toxins in their home, their hormones. And if they would work on those things, they could manage their anxieties and all of that. So it was very interesting. And that was a 6-week journey, because once those pellets are in, they stay in for a while. I would go out and just try to run as fast as I could to burn it off. But that was all during COVID. And then, my mom fell in 2020, and I start talking about my mom because it has to do with part of my story. Is she was diagnosed with Parkinson's.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember what year she was diagnosed in Parkinson's, but she ended up falling not once, but twice. First during COVID, and that was a disaster because we couldn't like
Right.
see her, and it was a mess. But she fell again, and it didn't end well. But I talk about her because I think I'm also motivated because I know she suffered from a lot of like gut issues, and I had too for a while. And so I wanted to clean up my gut health. And so I've been really working on that, because your gut produces, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the word, neurotransmitters that connect to your brain for brain health. And so they're finding now that like Parkinson's is correlated with your gut health. And so, my sister and I and my dad, we all are very big into working on that. And I don't know, I got down this rabbit hole. Somehow we were talking about food, and food is medicine, but
Right.
Supporting
Yeah.
your gut health is another thing
Yeah.
that I would say is highly recommended when working on your health journey.
Yeah. Well, and that all ties in with, again, with the food, but with whatever else that you're promoting or putting into your body with the oils. But, with food, like you said, with Parkinson's, but Alzheimer's, ADHD,
Yep.
all that. And I don't think people give enough credit to how this affects us, and is affecting our children. A lot of times people say, and of course I say it flippantly, but people are always saying about all the kids with ADHD or anxiety, and I'll say flippantly, it's in the milk. It's in the milk.
Yeah,
But our changes over time. I mean, it's not that we're just diagnosing these things. It's that the foods that we're eating and the
right.
convenience foods are affecting all of that. And I just don't think enough credit goes to that.
I totally agree. And I'll make a comment like that, and we'll be like, well, I ate it when I was growing up. And I'll say, well,
Right.
look at the box of what you ate when you were growing up in the 80s, 90s versus what's in it now, because it's changed over time. And I think people don't understand that, and they don't take that into consideration.
Yeah. Well, and the same thing goes when people say about, I was fine. I mean, there's funny things that talk about when we were kids in the 80s, this is what we did. How'd we survive? Right. The lack of seatbelts or whatever it may be. But I mean, things have changed, whether we're going at higher speeds in the car or, there's more predators out there, that the kids aren't playing outside until.
I was just listening to a podcast about how many more vaccines are given to babies now. Since the 80s, and it's insane.
Wow. Yeah.
And that can lead to a lot of health problems too. Like we need them. There's a place and time for all of those.
Right.
Do we need all of them?
Right.
That's
right.
another podcast we could do.
Right. Exactly. I know. This is just the Julie Shannon show now. There's a lot to talk about.
I always wanted to do a podcast. So when you asked me to come on here, I was like, yeah. My dreams are coming true.
Awesome.
About journey and about change, like
yeah.
So, but the weight thing has been like up and down, because after I got my hysterectomy, the weight came back on with a binge, and I probably gained 18, 20 pounds back on. So that was not fun. And I was still doing all the things, but it wasn't until I took out the toxins, worked on the inflammation, worked on the gut, that it started coming off. And just being consistent over time. I've always been consistent with moving my body. And if I could tell people the 3 things that they need to prioritize in life, it would be getting the toxins out of their home, working on their diet, and moving their body every single day. But I think people have it backwards. They think they need to move their body to burn off whatever they ate.
Right.
And they don't do anything about the toxins in their home. Even plastics and there's microplastics in our water and our containers. And I mean, you could go on. And there has to be a little bit of balance. I mean, you can't, like, some people are way over here and way over here. It's got to be, getting up a little bit each day even, to get rid of it. I think people get deer in headlights and overwhelmed, and they're like, oh my gosh, I can't do all of that. when really it's just small changes over time.
Yep.
Is what I've done for the past 15 years, which is where I am today. And it's really cool because now my kids are asking me and they'll say, Mom, I think I got a headache because I ate this. And I was like, probably,
Yeah.
So they're more mindful of it, which
that's awesome.
I hope. And I think, as a mom, we want to see our kids grow up and instill some of the things that they learned, good or bad, into their own homes.
Yeah.
It's a trickle down effect.
Yeah. I think I created kids who didn't want to go to the gym because I had them at the gym so much. No, Samantha's back at the gym. She's fine. It was a short while, but yeah, poor child.
No, yeah, I know. I have, a couple that they do like to work out and stuff. And then I have one that really doesn't like to. But.
Yeah. Yeah. I do comment constantly, and it drives people nuts because I'm like, oh, ate this, doesn't agree with me, or I feel this way because I ate that. I mean, it is true, and I don't say it to complain. I say it to help other people be aware, but I'm sure I'm driving people nuts with it.
Realize it,
right?
Like they just think, oh, I'm going around with the stuffy nose every time after I drink a glass of milk. I suffered from so many sinus infections too. Back before I,
got healthy.
Yeah. And we don't need to drink milk. Like,
yeah.
I don't buy it. We have other ways of getting our calcium and our bone, whatever's good for our bones.
Yeah.
But my mom, she just was raised in that generation where drink your milk for your bones.
Right.
And she still ended up with osteoporosis.
Right.
Because it's a science. You have to have the vitamin D with the magnesium for your body to absorb, and you have to lift weights for bone density. And that's another thing with menopause. And I think what women don't understand when they're going through all those changes is that, so many women want to work out to get skinny, and we need to be working out to be strong.
Right.
For our later years, because your bone density and your muscle mass just completely starts to decline.
Yeah.
Right during menopause through, did I say perimenopause to postmenopause? It just.
Yeah. Well, and I know your focus is on women, but a lot of these things, and I know I've thrown out the firefighters or police, but I mean, a lot of these things are beneficial to, it doesn't matter what sex you are.
Right.
These are health things. This isn't a woman thing.
Right.
And I mean, I know some of your focus or problems were female oriented, but it's still, the premise is there. And if somebody's listening if a man happens to be listening, right, they can either help their wives or they can help themselves.
Exactly. And, I've seen Joe evolve over time too. And for the longest time, I'm like, when is he going to catch on to what I'm doing? And
right.
And he is in a really good place right now. And I'm just so proud of him. And it almost brings me to tears because of all the changes that he's made. And is focusing on his health now because, my goal and his goal is to not be in the home later.
Yeah.
Definitely. I saw that firsthand with Mom, and it was not fun.
Yeah.
And when I say fun, I mean the memory
extended home. Care. Yeah. Well,
we
just keep saying this. I driving people nuts with this too, but I mean, we just dealt with my mother-in-law with Alzheimer's again. Diet can mitigate some of that early on.
Diabetes is what they're calling it.
Yeah.
It's sugar, it's carbohydrates.
But it is, I mean, it's sad. It's big business, and it's necessary to have extended care and nursing care and nursing homes. Absolutely. But
people that work there, and
none of us want to be there though.
God bless them.
Yeah. I mean, our goal, I always tell anybody I talk to is, our goal is to not be there, number one, and number two, to basically slide into the grave with $1 left, I mean, unless you want to leave it all to your kids, but I mean, let's not outlive our money. definitely don't want to do that. But you definitely want to be able to pay for it too, if you do need that care. So all that is planning, just like our health is planning. So
your health is your retirement too. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I know people prioritize their finances for retirement, but they need to be prioritizing their health too, because you get into your retirement and you want to have good health so that you can
What does it look
enjoy.
like to you? I mean, nobody I mean, I've had people jokingly say, like, I'm going to sit in a rocking chair. What are you going to do? I'm going to sit in a rocking chair and watch TV. That's not typically what we're looking to do. I mean, it's kind of tongue in cheek, but
Right.
at the same time, a lot of people I work with have worked very hard for all their life. And they're like, it sounds appealing for probably about a year or probably 6 months or less. But, the reality of it is we need to be able to do those things we want to do. You've spent your life working, and you should be physically able to go for those hikes or walks or whatever you want to do,
Oh yeah. I want to still be
into
moving my
retirement.
body. My dad's
Yeah.
84 years old and he still walks 2 miles a day.
Nice.
And
yeah.
he told me the other day he was on the treadmill because they got a big snowstorm in Kansas City. And he was telling me how fast he was going on the treadmill. And I was like, on my treadmill, going slower and pushing it up, going, I
gotta keep up with my dad, right?
Keep up with my 84-year-old dad.
Yeah.
One of the things I really enjoy when he comes out here is our walks together.
Nice. Yeah, I always enjoy taking walks with my dad too. He's 84 as well. So
and that's another thing. If people would just get out and walk and move their body that way, it doesn't have to be this intense exercise. And that's what I've learned about like my genetic makeup, because I've also done gene testing, is I have a mutation that is specifically says not to do intense training.
Yeah. I like that excuse. I'm going to say I have that too.
Oh my gosh.
No.
I'm kind of glad I didn't know that when I was doing CrossFit, because I probably would have bagged a lot of workout.
Right. You're like, this one's not for me.
But it did play into why because I wasn't supporting that gene mutation at the time.
Right.
It played into my injuries and my hormonal imbalance. It's a bunch of stuff. It's a holistic picture.
Yeah. Listen to your body is a real thing, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not just one or two things. It's diet, exercise, sleep, stress.
Yeah. Well, I know that you have a ton of information to share, but where can people find you? And I know you think some of it's a work in progress, but trust me, this will take a while to get through compliance to air. So it won't air right away. But where can people find you? How do we reach you? How do we follow you?
Instagram is the best place to reach me. JSmojo. And you'll probably link that.
Yep.
And then I'm working on a website, but I do have some links in my bio that take you to my website, which is through Stan Store.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Well, I hope we can talk again. I mean, I know we'll talk again, but I mean, in this capacity too. Yeah, right. We're doing this weekly.
It's my passion. I love it. That I just feel so honored that you asked me to be a part of your podcast. And I really want to thank you for having me here.
Absolutely.
Because just if one person that listens, it makes a difference in their life, that means that this was a win.
Right. Exactly. Well, I listened to it. So that's one person. We're good. I appreciate your input, and I appreciate you responding to my messages when I was trying to get I love in the background there, your diffuser, but getting that. Yeah, it's nice. I like it.
I love it. Well, I have an oil in here right now that kind of helps with emotions, because I was a little nervous for the podcast. So with stress, emotions, all the things.
Nice. Yeah. I think I still have my Christmas one in there, so I'll have to change it out. But yeah. Well, thanks again, Julie. And thank you everyone for joining me on this episode of Compounding Change. Remember, big results come from small, consistent actions. Until next time, take care, keep moving forward, and let's keep building a life filled with better health, wealth, and purpose. See you soon.
This has been the Compounding Change Podcast with Shannon Davis. If you are a firefighter or first responder, you know that change happens fast. Life changes, finance changes, compounding change. Shannon Davis is a certified retirement counselor who understands the needs of Ohio Association of Professional Firefighters members. Click on daviscompoundingchange.com to learn more. Discussions in this show should not be construed as specific recommendations or investment advice. Always consult with your investment professional before making important investment decisions. Securities offered through Cambridge Investment Research Incorporated, a registered broker-dealer member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisory services are offered through Retirement Plan Advisors LLC, a federally registered investment advisor. Cambridge Investment Research and Retirement Planning Advisors are not related to daviscompoundingchange.com or this podcast. Please note that investment involves risk and no statements made in this recording are indicative of future performance. The Compounding Change Podcast is brought to you by Shannon Davis.